the Argentina Strasse in Vienna, Austria, home to ORF, the public service broadcaster, and across the road...
Well, welcome to the Documentary Archives radio commentation. Come in and have a look. There is something written on our doorstep that you might have translated. Whatever you will find here wouldn't be here any longer if it wasn't here. It is just two generations that experience immediately what happens. Everything else is just remembering. Come in. Wow. This is our playground. The whole wide world is our playground. And what you will find here is a couple of awards and documents. We don't put them up here to boast with them. We simply haven't got the room to store all those 20, 30, 40,000 diplomas.
And these were for what, contests or for?
This is membership diplomas, contests. It's amateur radio. It's broadcasting. It's immediately after the war. It's easy. It's difficult. It's just wall, just decorations.
It's actually a celebration of people having fun. And being curious about what's happening in the rest of the world.
It's always great fun. It's always great fun to listen to the radio, to transmit yourself, to listen to amateur radio. Communications is fun. Sometimes it's sad, but it's sad fun at that time. Come in. Well, this is a very, 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 very small part of our QSL card collection. We have about 7.5 million cards now. Now means this is the 2nd of September 2009. We will have about 100,000 more next month or so. These are amateur radio cards being donated, and we have to go through them card by card by card by card to find out which ones we need for particular collections. And what we need is being kept here, and all the rest is being stored forever and a day.
Okay, so I mean,
that's just the trash.
Okay.
The trash of today,
okay.
And this is the trash of yesterday.
Okay.
And it's the treasure of today. It's pre-war cards, and you wouldn't find another collection like this one anywhere else in the whole wild world.
So this is a record of communication that's happened pre-war.
Pre-war communication
between
22 and 45. So, trash of today, treasure of tomorrow, and at the same time, it is research stuff. It doesn't mean much. You don't see much. If you just see files and files and files of documents. These 2 rows of documents took 2 years of research, and they will save years and years and years of research for students. It's the extract of 52 kilometers of documents to collect whatever is there of importance concerning Austrian media. Let me give you another example. Behind us are about 250,000 cards from the German Democratic Republic. Trash. Everybody worked GDR. Everybody worked GDR. I invite you now to try to get hold to a radio amateur from the German Democratic Republic. It doesn't exist any longer. It's past. It's history. More than that, this used to be a country very eager to be #1 worldwide, say in sports and other achievements, and of course they also wanted to be #1 in radio sports. The problem is they didn't want their people to transmit on the air without any control. So how can you be number one and at the same time restrict? A very, very difficult system of controlling and checking and spies and collaborators and lists and whatever you have. Trying to find out what was officially being published and who did what to control amateurs, how the whole system worked, how radio amateurs were used for other purposes, for state security or whatever there is. That's part of our research. And we need those cards in addition to all the files we get from the official archives and all the recordings and stuff we get from the individual persons. We have about 1,500 bequests and estates and donations from all over the world. We are by far the largest collection, and don't be misled by these cards, of all kinds of documentation related to the history and development of radio communication, amateur radio, broadcasts, whatever you have.
It's your idea?
Not really. It might be my brainchild, but things exploded. This the genius out of the bottle, so to say. It started with the shoebox. We didn't anticipate 25 years ago that once this would be the largest and by far the most valued and recommended collection, archive, file, research file, clearinghouse of its kind. There was a time when DXing, as it was called, listening to the world on shortwave radio, after World War II, where people listened for other reasons, but during the Cold War became the fashion. Every country had a radio station broadcasting in each and every language to each and every part of the world, because all the other ones also did so. And some of the radio stations, the international broadcasters, offered a couple of minutes with a radio show, just saying that Mr. Jonathan Marks from the Netherlands listened to our station on 6155 with a good signal, and we thank him and play the Blue Danube Waltz just for him. Well, I made a little bit more out of that. A media magazine. I could claim that we invented the media magazine, the journalistic media magazine, because Radio Austria International was broadcasting from an independent country, from a neutral country. It was not part and parcel of the Cold War. It was not part and parcel of the other, of the one or the other side. So we had listeners in the East and the West. We had listeners in Israel and in Egypt. We had listeners in India and in Pakistan. The terrorist of the ones is the freedom fighter of the other ones. It's very, very difficult to report unless you take the media as an example. You have something happening, and you just relate what the media on both sides told the people. You don't only relate it, you prove it with examples. You start to interview people, and you get a huge amount of audience, great audience. And this is what we did. Trying to be as unbiased as possible. And the media show was the perfect means of being political, very political, without taking sides and without being political. And we created a huge audience of radio listeners. You wouldn't find that in CNN or whatever it is. And if you go to the next media internet cafe, you can look, but you can't listen. And radio is listening. So you can't stop the trend. But it is a pity that a piece of culture, a means of culture, a medium that has its own merits is going down the drain. Sometimes we feel that we are collecting the end pieces, and then we feel that this will carry on. You and I won't be there any longer, and there will still be a voice talking into a microphone somewhere, and a listener listening to that voice somewhere else. You don't know what will be trash or treasure later on. So we cannot pick and choose, really. We take what we get, and happily enough, we get lots and lots and lots. If a broadcaster closes down a language program, we get the whole stuff. If somebody recorded tapes all his life long, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 tapes, we get 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 tapes. Many of them are of no particular importance. Some are extremely rare. Which one is the extremely rare one? The one you are looking for because you are an editor, you are a journalist, you are a media buff, your grandfather was stationed there and you want to get a photograph of his radio station or whatever it was. Over there what you see is not as important as it looks. What you can't see is the important things, but all this is reference. Be it a card from the Antarctica, from Mount Everest, be it King Hussein of Jordan's late card, or this is the king of Sikkim, who also used to be a radio amateur. If you want to learn more about that, you should consult our web page. We have a long story about him and other ones. This is part of research. It shows that radio and communication is history, is not just it's heritage. Yeah. It's heritage. Unfortunately, not really honored by UNESCO and so on. What you can't see, or what doesn't mean anything for you, is if you, for instance, take a look at these. This is just documents. It's just documents. By the way, have a look. United Nations Radio Amateur Station from Jerusalem. When was it? 1957. Just one of the things that have been done. So, back to this. It's just documents. Documents that do not exist. This is a complete set collected in many, many years of the circulars of the German Amateur Radio Society between 1933 and 1945, a Third Reich. And it all was burned down and destroyed when the headquarters was destroyed by air bombs. For many of them it was a happy thing because their past was burning as well. We keep these files, and they are the only ones existing up to today, and they are 90% complete. We know that there was an amateur radio station in Hitler's headquarters until March 45.
And this was somebody who was it set up for political reasons, or was it simply? It was
communication, but the only communication that was remaining when the Second World War broke out, and Hitler claimed that Polish people raided a German broadcasting station. It was, in fact, a group of Germans, and one of them was a radio amateur. And the first ones to work underground, clandestine, were amateurs. Let me show you something else. We were talking about, I hope I can find it. I wasn't really expecting, yeah, there you are, expecting you. We talked about all those documents of the Third Reich being burned. Now, this is a unique document of the German Democratic Republic, when they started to allow, we're talking about amateur radio again instead of broadcasting, when they started to allow amateur radio again, they needed strong anti-fascists to build this new organization. This is the first page. It's a unique document. Nobody knew that it was still existing. The first page of the list of those who were invited or allowed. Now, if we would go over to our files over there, radio before Germany before 45, you would find many of those names being Nazi representatives, being members of the Nazi party, being functionaries of the Nazi party. They could believe that everything was destroyed. This is part of history. Yes, it's heritage.
So what happened then? They simply switched sides, or
no? I do not blame them. In 1945, they found themselves in East Germany. They had been radio amateurs before. They wanted to be radio amateurs again. When amateur radio was allowed again, they were asked or volunteered, and they could be more or less sure that their past was not known. And in between them, they of course kept silent. I do not blame them. I don't know what I would have done if I had been at that time in that position. I just state the fact that we can reconstruct the development of these years and trace these people. Not more than that, but that's part of research. And this is part of, political history. 20 years later, when the GDR collapsed and became part of the German Federal Republic, it was the same people, the same judges, the same civil servants, the same doctors, the same ordinary people on the street, the party members, the fellow travelers, the persecuted, the same thing.
Very weird times.
Very weird times. Yes, come on.
Yes, we haven't seen everything yet.
Well, you haven't seen anything. We could go on and on and on and on and on.
You should point out that this building also has a radio history.
Yes, this used to be the editorial offices of Radio Austria International, until the station was closed down in 2003.
And did you have a situation, because it started here in the Argentina Straße, then it went to Würzburggasse, and then it came back?
Yeah. It came back, and it was over there in Broadcasting House and over here again. Well, we moved and moved and moved. Moving is a good thing. Keep moving. Meet Ahmedin, one of our good corporates and team members. This is part of the library. It's part of the library because we don't have room enough for all the books, but it is a very representative selection of books, periodicals, whatever you have for concerning amateur radio and broadcasting. Here at last we are with broadcasting.
Radio Wien was the sort of radio magazine?
That was the radio magazine, yes, and you wouldn't find a complete set like this one anywhere else in Austria and somewhere else. So you would have to go to Berlin to find their complete archives, or you just simply stay with us. This is an Australian paper because the Australian organization is one of our supporting members, like so many others. These are periodicals dating back to 1912. You can't see much because we try to digitalize the whole thing, getting stuff and stuff. Haven't got the room to put all of it together. Shall we carry on?
Radio Österreich International.
Yeah, funny recollections. I must remind you that we are international. We are not just Austria, but of course we keep our own souvenirs. We are very proud of our past.